After my husband went bankrupt, I followed him into a basement apartment. From a penthouse view to a damp basement unit with peeling paint and faulty wiring, that was the distance we fell. The neighbors pitied him. If they looked at me, it was with confusion. Why would a woman like me stay? They did not know the truth. I was required to stay. Required to play the role of the arrogant, impossible wife who made his misery worse. The system made sure of that. According to it, I existed to sharpen his suffering. I was the obstacle, the humiliation, the emotional weight dragging behind the brilliant male lead. Every cruel word I spoke was scripted. Every insult, deliberate. And every night, after I performed my part, I broke down in silence. That night, when the apartment was quiet and the pipes had stopped groaning, I slipped past the curtain that separated his narrow folding bed from the rest of the room. Carefully, I rolled up his sleeve. The wound was deep, nearly 4 inches. Uneven, red, barely beginning to close. He had torn his skin open earning money for the coat, I demanded. My hands trembled as I cleaned it. Tears fell freely, landing on his wrist. When will he ask for a divorce? I whispered into the dark. I could not keep hurting him like this. The system observed in silence for a moment, then responded lightly. Divorce? It almost sounded amused. He intends to love you for the rest of his life. At 10 that night, I stood beneath a flickering streetlight. In my hands was the bouquet I had thrown away hours earlier. No one had taken it. The ribbon was still neatly tied. The roses were cheap, the jasmine sparse, but he had arranged them carefully. I knew it was pretty, I murmured. The system scoffed. A handful of discount flowers and bargain wrapping paper. You went through trash for that? I ignored it. Earlier that evening, I had crushed those same flowers at Lewis's feet. Other men give hundreds, I had said coldly. If you cannot afford romance, then do not pretend. It is embarrassing. There had been strawberries too. A small box. His supervisor had handed them out during an inspection. He had not eaten a single one. He brought them home for me. The system was irritated by my sentimentality. Stay in character. You are not the devoted wife. You are the one who humiliates him. I crouched down and removed the jasmine blossoms from the bouquet, pressing them flat so I could keep them inside a book later. If these gestures meant nothing, then what did? The next command arrived without warmth. Make him buy you an expensive designer coat before Christmas. Lewis happened to be home early. He stood on a stool repairing the ceiling light. The wiring failed weakly. He never complained. I bought a small lamp, he said without turning around. If the lights go out again, just use that. Do not try to fix anything yourself. His hands were no longer the hands of a former executive. They were scraped, rough, lined with small cuts. I almost lost my nerve, but the script pressed against my mind. Christmas is coming, I forced myself to say. I need a proper coat. Something expensive. Otherwise, how am I supposed to celebrate? I showed him the listing on my phone. This one. If you cannot buy it, do not bother coming home. He washed his hands carefully before taking the phone. He studied the screen for a long time. Is this the only one you like? Inside my head, the system exploded. $800? Are you out of your mind? The coat originally cost much more. I had searched resale platforms for days to find it cheaper. 800 meant fewer shifts. Less exhaustion. Is this the only one? He asked again. I misunderstood the look in his eyes. I thought it was reluctance. Shame makes people talk too much. I can try negotiating, I blurted out. Maybe I can get it lower. I had forgotten my role entirely. He took the mug from my hands and reheated the juice. Lipstick, he said gently. A hat. Hair ribbons. A small tree. A cake. He guided me to sit. Kneeling in front of me, he met my gaze. You will need those too, he said. For a real Christmas. The coat arrived the day before Christmas. Structured lines. Soft fabric. A rich color. The system sounded pleased. Good. He bought it from the department store. As expected. He would never buy secondhand. I froze. From the department store? Lewis had been blacklisted after his company collapsed. No firm would hire him. He took whatever physical labor he could find. And I spent everything he earned. $2,000. Where could he have found that kind of money? The answer came from the internet. A photo circulated widely. The window washer our building hired is unbelievably handsome. I live there too. Someone's flower pot fell from an upper floor and hit him. The cut was huge. He did not make a scene. Just asked for compensation quietly. That night, I moved the curtain aside again. The injury matched the photo. He had been suspended 26 floors above ground, secured by a single rope, scrubbing glass in winter wind. All for a coat. "You are hurt," I whispered. At dinner he had handed me an apple and told me to eat it whole, skin and all, for good luck. He could not peel it. His left hand had been injured. I had believed his explanation without question. As I applied ointment, I traced the older scars. This one from hauling bricks when I had a fever. This one from a night job when I wanted jewelry. Each mark told a story I had chosen not to see. The system tried to reason with me. If you had married him earlier, you would have lived in luxury. Instead, you share a basement. Why should you feel guilty? But I thought of the man he used to be. Respected. Brilliant. Untouchable. And now he returned home to a wife who told him he was worthless. I pressed my face into his palm. "When will he divorce me?" I asked again. If he left, he would not have to work 3 jobs. He would not bleed for me. The system's reply was softer this time. "Divorce? He plans to love you for the rest of his life." The next morning, I kept circling the same thought. The system refused to give me a straight answer. "We have not reached that segment of the storyline yet," it repeated blandly. It was always like this. Sharp when criticizing me, conveniently silent when I needed something real. I stirred my oatmeal without tasting it. A coat, lipstick, hair ribbons, a Christmas tree, a cake. Louis had prepared all of it for me. I should give him something too. But what could I possibly give him, and how would I explain it? We were meant to divorce eventually. If I was going to give him anything, it had to be before that. A gift after separation would only feel absurd. So, when exactly were we divorcing? "What are you thinking about?" I did not hear him approach. "Your breakfast is getting cold." Still lost in my thoughts, I answered honestly without thinking. I was wondering when we might get divorced. The moment the words left my mouth, my entire body went cold. At that exact second, the ceiling light fizzled and died with a loud pop. The sharp sound swallowed my voice. I seized the opportunity. "This light is awful," I muttered quickly. Last time it kept flickering all day. It was terrifying. Louis replaced the bulb without comment. If he heard me, he pretended not to. He left early. He returned late. This pattern had become normal. That evening, after washing up, he stood in front of me and said calmly, "I found a new apartment. We can move tomorrow." I blinked. It has large windows. The bedroom, too. Not like this underground box where daylight barely existed and electricity felt like a gamble. The system buzzed excitedly in my mind. This is the scene. You throw a tantrum about the hardship and threaten something dramatic to pressure him. That wounds his pride and pushes the plot forward. Wait, why is he suggesting the move first? Never mind, progress is progress. I barely heard it. My attention was on his arm. The cut opened again, I said softly. There were bruises along his shoulders as well. "What are you doing for money?" I asked. "Where did you get it?" He did not answer. Not when I stayed silent. Not when I asked directly. And then the script took over. Anger flooded me, hot and violent. I shouted at him for failing, for losing everything, for forcing us into this basement, for only knowing how to break his body, doing manual work. I accused him of being useless. I said things no one should ever say to someone who loves them. I screamed until my throat burned, and I could not stand anymore. When I collapsed to the floor, someone knelt in front of me. Louis. His hands were rough, the skin cracked from cold and labor. Old cuts overlapped with fresh ones. He held out a tissue. It took me a moment to realize why. My face was wet. "Don't cry," he said quietly. He wiped my tears first with the tissue, then carefully with his fingers, then with the uninjured side of his palm. Salt on open skin must sting. He did not react. After a long silence, he finally spoke. "It's my fault." The words sounded final, as if he were sentencing himself. My tears soaked into his wrist again. The next morning, clarity arrived. I know what to get him. As soon as Louis left for work, I went out. The system followed me with suspicion. "What are you buying?" I ignored it. Near the mall entrance, someone collided with me. Coffee splashed across my coat. The system perked up instantly. Here comes the next plot point. The man who bumped into me apologized with exaggerated charm. He introduced himself as Donovan. The system provided the rest. Wealthy heir. Future partner after divorce. Donovan insisted on replacing my clothes and paying for dinner to compensate for the inconvenience. Before leaving, he transferred $500 to my account with a smile that made my skin crawl. His gaze lingered too long, too confidently, as if I were already something he owned. The system was delighted. Perfect. The new romance is in motion. Divorce will follow naturally. You're revolting, I muttered under my breath. It did not care. At least use the money wisely, it advised. Buy the gift with it. I hated how it reduced everything to mechanics, plot points, functions. It never saw the bruises lining Lewis's shoulders. It never heard how harsh the scripted words truly sounded. That night I waited for him on the sofa. At some point I fell asleep. I woke briefly when he lifted me. I bought you something, I murmured. I pushed the bag toward him, suddenly nervous. I do not know if you will like it. Inside was a down jacket. Dark, simple, durable. White would have suited him beautifully, but white had no place on construction sites or loading docks. His old work jacket still hung by the door, stained with oil and dust. I forced my tone into something sharp. Do not misunderstand. I just do not want you getting sick. Hospital bills are expensive. I am not paying for you if you collapse. The cruelty sounded hollow even to me. It fit him perfectly. I had measured him quietly while he slept. He put it on. Then he removed it. Where did you get the money? He asked. The system's voice slid in smoothly. While you were chatting with your rich admirer, he was across the street unloading cargo. My heart dropped. He had seen. Where did the money come from? He repeated. There was something firm in his tone that frightened me. Then he saw my expression and softened. I am not accusing you, he said more gently. It is just expensive. Did you use all your savings? Savings. I had none. He handed me the cash he had earned that week without further questions. He did not ask about the new outfit I was wearing. He only looked at me for a long time. Do not deprive yourself, he said at last. If you need more money, ask me. Then, quietly, I'm sorry. I did not understand what he was apologizing for. After that, he worked even harder. The system was almost gleeful. Now he has started underground fighting. Manual labor alone would never restore his former glory. Every night, I treated new injuries. He tried to hide them, but he was terrible at hiding anything from me. The system praised me mockingly. That jacket was the final blow to his pride. Imagine accepting a gift bought with another man's money. I returned Donovan's $500, I said quietly while cleaning a cut along Lewis's ribs. I did not use it. The system froze. Then it exploded. Then where did you get the money? I said nothing. Instead, I reached up and touched the hat on my head, and remained silent. The system had been holding back for days. Finally, it burst out, unable to contain itself. You have been strange since the beginning. You were assigned the role of the vicious ex-wife. Instead, you collect discarded flowers, patch up his injuries, buy him gifts. Why? I leaned against the window and watched the branches of a tall green tree sway outside our new apartment. This is not the first time I met him, I said quietly. The system had appeared 2 months after I was taken back to the Chin family. As their biological daughter, returned after years of absence, I had imagined warmth and belonging. What I received instead was distance. When Lewis's family collapsed financially, the Chens did not want the embarrassment of canceling the engagement outright. Their precious adopted daughter was too valuable to sacrifice. So they sent me in her place. That was when the system arrived, informing me that the man I was about to marry was the protagonist of a story about ruin and resurgence. After divorcing his cruel wife, it explained, he would rise from nothing and build an empire. If you follow the script faithfully, you will be rewarded with wealth. The money meant nothing to me. What you are saying is, I asked it at the time, if I play my part properly, his future will not change. He will succeed. Yes, that was enough. What the system never understood was that Lewis and I had crossed paths long before any arranged marriage. 18 years after I was switched at birth, my adoptive family tore up my university acceptance letter and promised me to a man I had never met. I ran. With nothing but my identification card, I stood outside the university gates, too ashamed to enter, too stubborn to leave. I found work in a small restaurant. After I burned my arm badly, they dismissed me without hesitation. Pain and desperation are dangerous companions. I remember standing on a bridge, wind cutting through my thin clothes, when someone spoke to me. Lewis. He was only 20, yet already steady in a way that made the world feel less unstable. He took me to my first McDonald's, bought more food than I could finish, then walked me back to the university. When I reached into the paper bag later, I found money tucked at the bottom. 10,000. That was the night I learned you could attend school even without a formal admission letter. That financial aid existed. In the remote village where I grew up, such possibilities were unheard of. After a long pause, the system said dryly, "No wonder you turned out differently." I smiled faintly. The girl I was meant to become would have been bitter, small, and cruel. Instead, I met him. He probably never remembered. But I did. "Do you think he recognizes you?" the system asked. It did not call him the male lead this time. I doubt it. Back then I was thin, awkward, invisible. And I hope he never does. If he remembered that frightened girl from the bridge, what would he think of the woman who now insults him daily? The system regained its firmness. Your role is necessary. A hero cannot rise without hardship. I know. That was why I agreed to take the adopted daughter's place in the marriage. I wanted to see him succeed. I just did not expect the cost to be written in scars across his body. Why must success hurt this much? I whispered. The system had no answer I liked. December 31st. I wore the coat he bought me and went to meet him for New Year's Eve. He was not alone. A woman stood beside him, elegant and confident. The system spoke immediately. The true female lead. Sophie. Her father owns the fighting arena. After your divorce, she will help him rebuild everything. My steps slowed. So this was her. Before I could retreat, they both turned. Sophie smiled easily. "So, this is why you rejected my invitation tonight," she teased Louis. "You already had company." Louis walked over and took my bag from my hand as naturally as breathing. Yes. Only then did I notice his jacket. It was not the one I bought. This one carried the same brand logo as Sophie's. A faint memory from the script surfaced. She would notice his hardship and give him clothes. Was that what this was? Something tight coiled inside me. Sophie studied me with sudden recognition. "I have seen you before." She showed me her phone. The image was clear. Me leaning toward Donovan. Anyone who knew me would recognize the clothes, my profile. "You are the one he has been spending money on," she continued lightly. "I heard you even promised to marry him." Heat rushed to my face. That is not true. After the coffee incident, Donovan had tried to run into me several times. I avoided him. Sophie's tone softened. "Then perhaps I am mistaken. You just look very similar." Her words claimed doubt. Her expression did not. She added casually, "He gave that woman $500 the first day. Who knows how much since then?" "That is enough." Louis's voice cut cleanly through the air. He took my hand, but I did not move. I looked at him, heart pounding. "Do you believe her?" I asked. "Do you think I am that kind of woman?" The night unraveled after that. We returned home in suffocating silence. I locked myself in the bedroom. The system was exasperated. That confrontation was written for a reason. He is supposed to feel disgust. That accelerates the divorce. I stared at the ceiling. After some time, he knocked. "Dinner is ready." Instead of the hot pot reservation I had made weeks ago, he cooked at home. Pork ribs. Stir-fried cabbage. He bought the ribs because I mentioned leg cramps recently. He barely touched them himself. "You did not answer me," I said finally. "Do you think the woman in the photo was me?" His chopsticks paused briefly. "No," he said simply. "I trust you." All the explanations I prepared dissolved. "The jacket I bought you," I began. "I did not use anyone else's money." "The soup is cooling," he interrupted. "I will reheat it." He had just brought it to the table. I watched him walk away. "System," I asked slowly, "is it possible he truly believes me?" The system crushed that fragile hope. He just does not want to humiliate himself. No man would openly admit his wife is cheating. He is preparing for the divorce. It continued mercilessly. "He has someone suitable now. You are only a side character." I thought of Sophie, of the jacket he wore, and I said nothing more. After New Year's Eve, Louis became harder to reach. He had always been quiet. Now he seemed to fade into the background of his own life. Sometimes he would not come home for 2 or 3 nights. When he did, it was long after midnight. I would wake briefly to the sound of the door, then silence. I never managed to see him properly. I did not know whether his bruises were healing or multiplying. The system sounded almost cheerful. The real heroine has entered the story. Their feelings are developing. The divorce is approaching. Prepare yourself. Prepare? As if it were a celebration. I swallowed whatever was rising in my throat and said nothing. The day we signed the papers was bright and painfully clear. Sunlight filled the apartment we had once moved into together. He left in the morning without mentioning it. Returned around noon, gathered a few belongings, still said nothing. In the afternoon, we went to the hot pot restaurant we had failed to visit on New Year's Eve. The broth was spicy. Or maybe my eyes just stung for other reasons. This place is overrated, I said, forcing casual conversation. You can't even taste the ingredients. Louis nodded. Next time we'll order tomato base. There would not be a next time. After dinner, we passed through the mall. An event booth was handing out colorful sticky notes. Write a wish, the staff member said. The spirits will make it come true. Louis leaned over the table, writing carefully. On the walk home I asked, half teasing, half trembling, what did you wish for? I expected silence. Instead, he answered, I wished that you would stop crying. I froze. Under the streetlights, his eyes reflected silver. I want you to be happy, he continued quietly. Nice clothes. Jewelry. A life where you never count coins before buying something. I thought if I worked harder, I could exchange that effort for your smile. That seemed fair. For the first time since everything fell apart, he looked lost. But no matter what I did, I could not get it right. His voice dropped lower. Anna, am I really that useless? My throat tightened. With me, you were never happy. After the divorce, the system declared the mission complete. Success, it said. The word felt hollow. Louis's comeback began quickly. Within months, he earned his first million and started laying foundations for something larger. One afternoon, I went to look at him from a distance. Sophie stood beside him, elegant and confident. They looked like they belonged in the same frame. Louis listened to her, but his attention drifted, scanning the street. I slipped away before he could see me. Stop watching, the system scolded. Your role is finished. I am not watching, I muttered. I just happened to pass by. 3 times this week at the same hour, it replied dryly. I was too busy arguing internally to notice the motorcycle until it roared past. A violent tug. My bag was gone. The boys laughed as they sped off. One of them turned, grinning cruelly. Not so pretty, without the hat. My hand flew to my head. The hat had fallen. People were staring. I stumbled into a narrow alley, crouched down, and covered my scalp with trembling hands. My hair. The system erupted in furious outrage, calling the police, cursing the thieves. I barely heard it. Then footsteps. A shadow fell over me. Louis. His jacket was rumpled, his breathing uneven. He placed my bag in my arms. They have been caught, he said. The police will handle it. I grabbed the hat instinctively. What are you doing here? He did not answer immediately. His eyes were fixed on me, on my bare head. What happened to your hair? I tried to lie. The truth came out instead. I sold it. His jaw tightened. For how much? 1,362. Exactly the price of the down jacket. Silence. I forced a laugh. The buyer wanted to cut it short for 500. I negotiated. If he shaved it completely, he paid more. I even got this hat included. Good deal, right? Something warm soaked through my shoulder. Louis had lowered his head, face pressed against my neck. He was shaking. I am sorry, he whispered. Again. Why was he apologizing? He held me so tightly it almost hurt. It does not look terrible, I said weakly. Maybe I should just keep the hat on. It does not, he replied hoarsely. You are beautiful. He helped me to my feet. Then I remembered. Sophie must be waiting for you. Sophie. Confusion crossed his face before realization followed. You think there is something between us? I nodded. There is nothing, he said firmly. I do not have anyone else. He looked almost wounded. I thought you divorced me because you hated me. Because I was a failure. You are not. I rushed out. You are wonderful. We just cannot be together. Why? He asked. I hesitated too long. Do you not like me? The light in his eyes dimmed. That is not it, I whispered. I do like you. For a second, he stared at me. Then he laughed softly, the sound startling in its warmth. It was the first genuine laugh I had heard from him in a long time. And you? I asked. Do you like me? He took my hand. I love you. I always knew when she was tending to my wounds. She was clumsy. Her nails brushed against cuts and she would gasp, then blow on them, as if that childish gesture could erase pain. After a while I would feel moisture on my skin. Her tears. I kept my eyes closed because I was afraid if I moved, she would retreat behind her cruel mask again. Does anyone notice when a stray dog gets hurt? I did not mind the injuries. What I could not endure was the sound of her crying. I once asked a coworker why women cry. He laughed and told me to buy gifts. So when she demanded the coat, I felt relieved. At least there was something I could do. But even after I gave it to her, she still cried. It seemed nothing I traded my labor for could purchase her happiness. So I fought underground. I swallowed humiliation easily. What I could not swallow was the idea of her leaving, because I was not enough. After the divorce, I saw her watching from across the street. She tried to hide, but I saw her every time. Then one day I saw her without her hair. I nearly broke. When she finally admitted she sold it to buy my jacket, something inside me shattered and healed at the same time. After we remarried, she once asked when I began loving her. The truth? From the moment I saw her again, I recognized the girl from years ago. Her eyes had not changed. Every cruel word she spoke carried sorrow behind it. I knew she did not mean them. And somewhere between her secret tears and her trembling hands, my heart surrendered. I wish we had dated properly, she once said. Confessed like normal people. There was a confession, I told her. The bouquet. The day I spent everything on flowers because the internet said love should start that way. She ran to get a book. Inside, pressed carefully between the pages, were white jasmine petals. She had gone back for them. This time, when she cried, I did not apologize. I thanked fate instead, because I met her, and that was enough.